Bonjour, je suis Mister Emma et vous regardez Archi Urbain, l'émission qui vous parle d'architecture et d'urbanisme. Je suis aujourd'hui à Orlando car ce soir est diffusé mon dernier long métrage Beyond The Pavilion. Pour rappel, ce film dresse le portrait de 5 architectes et ingénieurs, dont 3 d'entre eux ont réalisé un pavillon pour la Belgique dans une exposition universelle. 5 architectes, 5 visions, un même défi. Représenter la Belgique à travers l'architecture et s'adresser au monde. À Milan, à Dubaï, à Osaka, ils ont façonné des pavillons, des manifestes, des symboles d'un pays tourné vers l'avenir. Mais derrière chaque projet se cache un homme, une conviction, une histoire. Patrick Genard, Vincent Calbeau, Cyril Rousseau, Nicolas Godelet, Laurent Ney. Entre Bruxelles, Tokyo, Shanghai et les coulisses des expositions universelles, Beyond The Pavilion plonge au cœur de leur travail, de leur quotidien, de leurs inspirations. Comment penser un pavillon quand l'urgence climatique redéfinit notre rapport au monde ? Comment incarner un pays, une culture, une responsabilité ? Plus qu'un film sur l'architecture, c'est un voyage à la rencontre des créateurs qui bâtissent des ponts entre esthétique, technologie et engagement. Ceci était donc un extrait de la bande-annonce du film Beyond The Pavilion qui revient donc sur 3 portraits principaux de 3 architectes qui ont comme point commun d'avoir réalisé un pavillon de la Belgique à une exposition universelle. Et ces 3 portraits sont à voir en intégralité sur la plateforme caviar.archi. Vous trouverez également d'autres informations sur le film sur le site de l'émission archiurbain.be. Le film fut présenté pour la première fois à la semaine de l'architecture et du design sur le pavillon de la Belgique à l'exposition universelle d'Osaka, c'était en mai 2025. Il a été présenté une seconde fois à la semaine wallonne, toujours au pavillon de la Belgique à Osaka. Et ce soir, il sera donc présenté à l'Université centrale de Floride, ici à Orlando. Et c'est une projection qui a été faite à l'initiative de la FABCO, qui est la Chambre de commerce franco-américaine d'Orlando.
FABCO, donc, c'est la chambre de commerce officielle. Nous faisons en fait la connexion entre la France et les Américains sur le territoire. Nous essayons de faire au moins 2 événements par mois. C'est vraiment une question de connecter les gens entre eux.
J'ai profité de ma présence à l'UCF à l'occasion de la diffusion du documentaire pour questionner le directeur de la faculté d'architecture ainsi qu'un de ses professeurs, Joshua Treatway, pour leur demander quelques informations supplémentaires sur l'université.
So UCF is the University of Central Florida. It's one of the largest universities in the nation. Started off as kind of an engineering, aerospace college that then later on took on more and more. Architecture has been in the UCF curriculum since 2010.
Officially, it's Herbert Thomas James IV, but everyone just calls me Tommy. I am the director of the architecture program at the University of Central Florida. That's not always been the case. Teaching has always been the case. I had always taught in the evenings and became obsessed with teaching and learning and growing the field. But I was practicing for 15, 16 years and full-time and then teaching in the evenings. And with family, I decided to switch it up, and then it came about. I became the director, and I realized that this program in the city of Orlando is growing rapidly, really fast, and it needed an identity. And so I'm very excited to be a part of creating that identity what this relatively young program is going to mean to the Central Florida area.
Tant que j'étais avec les 2 architectes et professeurs, je leur ai demandé de me parler de l'architecture d'Orlando. Y a-t-il un style Orlando ?
That tends to be a hot topic. Some people will say, well, we don't have an identity of our own, but the state of Florida in itself is truly a hodgepodge, a melting pot of many identities.
Disney really brought in quite a bit of what we consider to be the movers and shakers of the 1960s. So having something like the, having the postmodernists kind of come in here and create these very interesting, both modern but classical kind of forms within here really created kind of a foundation for architecture. You can still see a skyline within downtown.
Historically, people have moved down to the state of Florida for retirement, or they've had second or even third homes here, so it became a land of play. And that land of play is definitely emphasized also with our beaches, but also our entertainment sector. And that brings people from all over the world. And to have such an anchored reputation on entertainment and experiential immersive design has put us in an interesting situation where we could possibly do any type of architecture, and it truly represents who we are as a culture.
Then you start to get these things that happen like the 1980s, 1990s, where that architecture was kind of rebelled against, and we start to actually see more of the architecture trying to be of, I would say, more of commercial, more of that glass that we saw that really developing very heavily. But you always had sort of the Florida kind of contemporary with it. And I think that's what's kind of pressing forward now. Another interesting thing that we also have is because of architecture in Orlando always being rooted in a lot of outside cultures. My wife is Vietnamese, and there's a large Vietnamese population here. You see some of that in Mills and 50 area, and that culture kind of developing. I would say that you're also seeing a little bit more of that cultural impact, especially with the Pride movement that kind of happened in Orlando as well after the Pulse incident, and what we start to see is like community development within Orlando. You find pockets of architecture, and I think it's starting to become a bit of like what you see in like Chicago or Boston, where there are neighborhoods or boroughs that start to develop their own kind of form, and we're starting to kind of do that new age thing of naming those districts or naming those new areas as well.
We have some amazing natural resources in the state of Florida. And one often hears a complaint, well, the world that we live is artificial with the entertainment. And to some degree, that is true.
L'architecture d'Orlando ne peut donc pas être limitée à ses parcs d'attractions, l'architecture y est multiple. Je me souviens notamment du film Florida Project dans lequel l'architecture avait une part importante et on y voyait principalement des bâtiments originaux. Un magasin avec un mage au-dessus, un bâtiment en forme d'orange. Mais Orlando, c'est pas ça non plus. Orlando, on pourrait parler notamment du quartier Celebration, qui est un quartier qui a été imaginé par Disney début des années 90, inauguré en 94. C'est un peu la ville rêvée, parfaite, qui a été mise en place avec des maisons unifamiliales et beaucoup de verdure, beaucoup de parcs, beaucoup de pelouses, des lacs également, dans lesquels la biodiversité peut se déployer de manière totalement naturelle. Vous allez retrouver de nombreuses espèces d'oiseaux, des lézards, mais également des écureuils. Alors oui, Celebration est une ville planifiée, homogène, propre, sécurisée et esthétiquement soignée.
Celebration's architecture, always one of those ones that it's very interesting. It's this new urbanism kind of focus that they've got out there, where they want to focus on community and focus on kind of people gathering within space. But we always do have that one thing that we brush up against, which is always that we're a highway town still. There's still a lot of traffic. So this kind of play of scale is very interesting.
Celebration is special to me. I actually lived there as well for part-time, and it also is contentious. And people will define it as too cookie cutter, and I think it's quite opposite. I think it's a world of master planning that has truly thought about how you occupy it as a family, where we have codes and that everyone needs to have a front porch. It doesn't define what that front porch is. It needs a certain depth. It needs, for all intents and purposes, it needs to have a rocking chair, right? And then we have our parking in the back. We have our back alleys that allow us not to cover our architecture, cover our front porch by cars parked in front of it. The car was a fantastic invention, but it now takes up 2/3 of our homes, front elevation. And so by putting the car in the back, getting the front porch bigger, we got this opportunity to put a living room back outside. I lived in Kentucky for a little bit, and we're working for development. And these building like cookie cutter homes were painful to build, but what was interesting is culturally watching the people take their garages, and they removed the garage doors, and they were putting screen doors, and they had couches in their garages, they had pool tables in their garages, and it became this social experiment that people just wanted to be around each other. They were trying to take back their front porch and take back the street. And so when done correctly, celebration represents some of those fine tools that we could go back to. It has had always that pocket park mentality. We need to have some vegetation. So while the properties are very narrow, everyone kind of still has their own home, but we're fairly close to their neighbor. They produced several pocket parks that are these communal places where people can come together and throw frisbee or play baseball or just be outside, and the sidewalks are beautiful. They do a great job putting a buffer with the road with vegetation and vertical vegetation as well that gives a sense of security as you walk through the space.
Ce sera tout pour cette semaine, mais on se retrouve très rapidement dans un nouvel épisode d'Archi Urbain. D'ici là, vous le savez, vous pouvez voir et revoir toutes les émissions d'Archi Urbain sur le site archiurbain.be. Je vous souhaite une très bonne semaine et à bientôt. Merci beaucoup pour votre fidélité. Au revoir.